Sometimes in the NFL, players just need a fresh start somewhere.
How about Ryan Tannehill? 7-3 since he took over as a starter, turned their season around.
What a dream come true for him.
Sometimes that change of scenery is just a shot in the arm that player needs to really go off and have themselves a career year. Let us dive into 5 recent NFL quarterbacks who found great success after changing teams and 5 who inexplicably got worse. And a big shout out to Foxboy27006 for suggesting this video. Did great? Tom Brady. What more can be said about TB12's 3-year run in Tampa Bay that hasn't already been said? The GOAT left the New England Patriots after 20 years and chose to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020 free agency, inking a 2-year deal. All Brady did in his first year with Tampa was lead them to his Super Bowl 55 championship over Patrick Mahomes and the mighty Kansas City Chiefs. What followed was 2 straight NFC South Division crowns. In just 3 years, Brady racked up 108 touchdown passes and 14,643 passing yards, which was enough for 3rd most in franchise history. Ridiculous stuff, we know. Brady silenced all the doubters who thought he was mostly successful because of Bill Belichick and the Patriot way. He only added to his legacy by producing 2 more MVP caliber seasons, a Super Bowl championship, and 2 division banners. Yeah, I think we can say that Brady did just fine after leaving the Patriots. It sucked. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was once viewed as the future of the Eagles franchise. The organization trusted him so much that they traded up via the Cleveland Browns to take Wentz 2nd overall in the 2016 NFL Draft. Wentz would have likely won the 2017 League MVP if he didn't suffer a season-ending ACL tear late in the year. Even though Nick Foles was up for the challenge and led the Eagles to the franchise's first Lombardi Trophy that year, Philly chose Wentz over their Super Bowl hero. In 2019, Wentz was handed a 4-year extension worth $128 million, months after Foles left for the Jacksonville Jaguars. After a miserable 2020 season, the Eagles fired head coach Doug Peterson and opted to move on from Wentz, wanting to see what Jalen Hurts could do as the QB1. In the offseason, Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts, who needed a new QB after losing Philip Rivers to retirement. There was some excitement around Wentz's arrival in Indy since he was reuniting with head coach Frank Reich, who served as the Eagles' offensive coordinator during Wentz's first 2 seasons. Wentz showed some improvement alright, but the Colts collapsed down the stretch and finished 9-8 to miss out on the postseason. Their Week 18 loss to the league's worst team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, cost them a playoff spot. And it was simply too much for owner Jim Irsay to handle. So, Wentz was traded to the Washington Commanders in 2022. He went from meh in Indy to awful in Washington, losing 5 of 7 starts while tossing 11 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. It took the Commanders just 1 year to give up on Wentz, who was released in 2023. Did great? Matthew Stafford. In 2021, the Detroit Lions cleaned house and brought in a brand new coaching and front office staff. The new brass and Matthew Stafford agreed to start afresh, so he was traded to the Los Angeles Rams in the 2021 offseason. The Rams surrendered Jared Goff, a 2021 third-rounder, and their 2022 and 2023 first-round picks. Sean McVay and company simply believed that his team was just one minor upgrade at QB away from winning a championship. And oh boy, was he right. Number 1 pick at the 2009 draft quickly found his footing in La La Land and tossed 4,886 yards and 41 touchdowns, leading the Rams to the NFC West Division crown. Stafford also helped Cooper Kupp win the Triple Crown in receiving as well as Offensive Player of the Year honors. Stafford mania continued over into the postseason. In 4 playoff games, he completed 70% of pass attempts for 1,189 yards and 9 touchdowns and 3 picks for an insane passer rating of 108.3. Stafford led the Rams to game-winning drives against Tom Brady and the defending champion Bucs in the divisional round, against the rival 49ers in the NFC Championship, and of course, against the Cincinnati Bengals in Super Bowl 56. Quite frankly, it just doesn't matter how Stafford does the rest of the way in Los Angeles. He was brought in to bring the team a championship, and Stafford did that in his first year there. Sucked. Deshaun Watson. We like to emphasize that Watson can obviously turn things around and live up to the sky-high expectations in Cleveland. Bottom line, we have to go based on what we've seen so far. And Watson stunk terribly in his first year with the Browns. Maybe it wasn't surprising given that he was away from football for 2 years and his off-field legal issues that kept him away from the gridiron, but hey, still, the Browns organization clearly expected better. Watson was acquired in a blockbuster trade from the Houston Texans, then handed a 5-year deal worth a fully guaranteed $230 million, a deal that I'm still scratching my head over. Anyways, after serving an 11-game suspension, Watson returned and played far worse than backup Jacoby Brissett. Watson completed 58.2% of pass attempts, a career low, for 7 touchdowns and 5 picks. He didn't have a single 300-yard game and was held to under 200 yards passing in 4 of those 6 games. Given what Cleveland gave up for Watson and considering all the PR backlash that they took, you can't help but wonder if they're already regretting this trade. It already looks like a mess after year 1. But hey, if the Browns are okay with the negative PR, the only way they can be happy with the Watson trade is if he leads them to a Super Bowl. But do you realistically see that happening though? Did great. Jared Goff. Goff was once viewed as a simple throw-in for the aforementioned Stafford blockbuster trade in order to make the dollars work for LA. But Goff, playing with a huge chip on his shoulder, turned out to be anything but a throw-in. Playing on a tanking Lions team in 2021, Goff completed 67.2% of pass attempts, a career high for 19 touchdowns and just 8 picks. The INT total was actually Goff's lowest in 4 years. Goff regained his Pro Bowl form in 2022, completing 65.1% of pass attempts for 4,438 yards and 29 touchdowns, the second best mark of his career. And he only had 7 interceptions. That latter mark, by the way, tied the lowest total of Goff's career. So yeah, not only that, but Goff led the Lions to a surprise 9-8 finish, their first winning season in 5 whole years. They literally only missed out on the playoffs because of a tiebreaker, but Goff and the Lions ended the season on a beautiful note by eliminating the Green Bay Packers from playoff contention at Lambeau Field. The Lions now view Goff as their starter instead of a bridge to their next option. Truthfully, just what a great feel-good story he's really become, considering that Goff's old team couldn't wait to get rid of him some years ago. Sucked. Russell Wilson. Same deal as the Deshaun Watson entry. Wilson was nothing short of awful in his first year with the Denver Broncos after coming over via trade with Seattle. The Broncos finished with the number 32 scoring offense as Wilson tossed a career-low 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Considering Denver handed Wilson $245 million before he took a snap for them, yeah, I would say that's not exactly ideal. Also not good that they gave up a giant package that included 2 first-round picks to the Seahawks, who, in turn, returned to the postseason with Geno Smith as their starter. You gotta think that Denver would take a mulligan on this trade if they were given the chance. For now, they have to cross their fingers and hope that Wilson regains his superstar-like form with Sean Peyton now at the helm. Did great. Kirk Cousins. Look, love or hate him, there's no denying that Cousins has been a great addition for the Minnesota Vikings. The statistics do not lie. It's not Cousins' fault that the Vikings held on to defense-first head coach Mike Zimmer for far too long, or that they failed to give him a good defense or offensive line. Cousins has done his part in the Gopher State. Cousins signed a 3-year deal worth $84 million and fully guaranteed money back in 2018. He has led them to 3 winning seasons, 2 playoff appearances, and 1 NFC North Division crown. From 2018 to 2022, Cousins had the NFL's 4th most passing touchdowns and completions and the 5th most passing yards. A 46-33-1 record through 5 seasons in the Gopher State is no joke. Argue about the team's lack of playoff success all you want, but Cousins himself has been significantly better in Minnesota compared to what we saw in Washington. 0 30 TD seasons in DC, but 3 with the Vikings in just 5 years. Yeah, that kinda speaks for itself. If only the Vikings could build a winner around him. Sucked. Baker Mayfield. Mayfield had a great rookie year, then a terrible sophomore year, then a pretty solid 3rd year. In 2020, the first overall pick of 2018 led the Browns to their first playoff appearance in 18 years, as well as their first postseason victory since 1994. Mayfield courageously tried playing through injuries in 2021, but the Browns missed the playoffs and decided to make a change. They made the controversial trade for Watson and sent Mayfield to the Carolina Panthers. Mayfield was unable to make the most of his fresh start, however. He lost 5 of 6 starts and completed just 57.8% of pass attempts with 6 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. Carolina released Mayfield, who wound up finishing the year with the Rams after they lost Matt Stafford for the year. The QB-needy Bucks signed Mayfield in 2023 free agency following Tom Brady's retirement. But being on his 4th team in 3 seasons, you just know what Mayfield is at this point in his career. A high-end backup at best, not a long-term starter. Did great. Ryan Tannehill. After 7 inconsistent years in South Beach, the Miami Dolphins dealt Ryan Tannehill to the Tennessee Titans as they not-so-secretly began a tank job. It felt like a salary dump and nothing more, but after Titans starting QB Marcus Mariota got off to a rough start in 2019, Mike Vrabel gave up and decided to give Tannehill a shot. The rest, as they say, is history. Tannehill went on a tear with his new team, winning 7 of 10 starts while completing 70.3% of pass attempts for 22 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions. Tannehill led Tennessee to upset wins over Tom Brady's Patriots and MVP Lamar Jackson and the top-seeded Ravens en route to a surprise AFC title game appearance. Tennessee's Cinderella season ended with a loss to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but it certainly wasn't all for naught. Tannehill won Comeback Player of the Year honors and landed a 4-year contract extension worth $118 million. Tannehill proved that it was no fluke by leading the Titans to consecutive AFC South Division titles in 2020 and 2021, even helping them to the AFC's top seed in the latter year. Tannehill went from afterthought in Miami to a borderline star in Music City while turning the Titans back into a playoff contender. Sometimes a man just needs a fresh start, and Tannehill certainly made the most of his. Sucked. Matt Ryan. The Falcons sunk to mediocrity following their Super Bowl 51 collapse. Had it not been for the consistent production from Matt Ryan, however, they would have been near the very bottom of the standings. After another non-playoff season in 2021, the Falcons decided to pursue Deshaun Watson despite his legal situation. That understandably upset Matty Ice, who agreed with the front office that it was time for a change. The 2016 league MVP was traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round draft choice. Many expected Ryan to make a smooth transition into Frank Reich's offense. But things inexplicably got worse for everyone there. Indy's once elite offensive line crumbled and became a giant mess. Reich lost his magic touch and couldn't get much out of Ryan, who went 4-7-1 with just 14 touchdowns against 13 interceptions. Reich was fired mid-season and replaced by Jeff Saturday, despite the latter having 0 NFL coaching experience. Sam Ehlinger and Nick Foles wound up starting games in place of Ryan, who was let go by the Colts after the season. Ryan went unsigned in 2023 and took a role with CBS.
This game feels like it should be 28-3 in favor of Minnesota. Why is it still 10-10?
Turnovers.
But what other NFL quarterbacks were great after switching teams, and which ones were awful? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.